So welcome everyone to ICC ProveIt 2025, okay? Most people are out there still registering, so we're gonna film my remarks. They're gonna go on YouTube as soon as we're done, so anybody who doesn't see the opening remarks will be able to see them. But what I'm gonna do is introduce ICC ProveIt, and I'm gonna tell you what you can expect over the next 2.5 days. I'm gonna start with what is ProveIt, okay? And we're gonna do that by showing you a little video, a little 2-minute video from the show in February. But show of hands, it wasn't very many people. How many people went to ProveIt in February? Hold your hands up high. So very few, all right? So this will be brand new for most of you. So where ProveIt came from was, who here knows our YouTube channel and watches us? Okay, so obviously you guys know I'm incorrigible and I drop F-bombs and you gotta forgive me, I grew up in upstate New York, that's normal. Like when you say fuck, like that's not a huge deal. You could say that at church, no one's gonna think that's a big deal. For real, you could drop an F-bomb in church in upstate New York, no one's gonna say something to you, okay? Yeah, and so when Christians come to, I'm a Christian, when Christians come to me and they say your language, I go, well, the language is all about your heart. My heart's positive. So, that word didn't even exist when those words were written. So, forgive me there. If you're not used to hearing me speak, I will drop F-bombs because I don't think about it. Where ProveIt came from is the same philosophy where Intellic Integration, my integrator that I sold last year to the employees, came from, which was I believe there was a better way to do conferences. I have been to hundreds and hundreds of conferences in my career. That's not hyperbole, hundreds, think about it. Most of you have probably been to 24. If you go to a lot of conferences, most of you have been to 24, okay? I've been to hundreds of conferences. I've spoken at 61 conferences, including this one. And if I'm being honest, most conferences are garbage. And if you're being honest, most conferences are garbage. Most conferences are 80% salespeople. You can never talk to the technical resource at the booth. You'll have if you're a technical person who's trying to solve a problem in manufacturing, you cannot get the help you need at the booth. What you're gonna get is an introduction to a salesperson, right? Okay, so the idea with ProveIt was, why don't we create a conference where vendors have to compete based on solutions. They have to compare solutions on a common manufacturing facility. So they'll be introduced to the manufacturing facility and we ask them basically 3 questions. What would you do for this customer? Like the number one question I ask any vendor is, what problem do you solve? So when Atanta Analytics came to me, the company, they're based out of Germany, they have a really inexpensive analytics platform. But when they came to me and they're like, hey, Walker, would you take a look at our product? The first thing I said was, what problem do you solve? When I had conversations with Sepasoft yesterday about the direction of the company, and they were like, hey, we're kind of pivoting. We're gonna, OEE is kind of saturated. We're gonna be focusing on some other things around analytics. The first question I asked was, well, what problem will you be solving? ProveIt is about demonstrating the solution to problems in one context, a virtual factory. So all of the vendors have to connect to the same infrastructure. Who here has heard of unified namespace as an architecture? All right, why is it unified namespace is so popular as an architecture? What is the reason? Like, all of you believe in it, clearly, you've heard of it, vast majority of you believe in it. Why does it resonate? Why does organizing data, putting all your data in the same place and having it be the current value and semantically organizing it and grouping it by function and description, why does all of that make sense?
Provides value.
What's that?
Provides value.
But why does it provide value? You said it provides value. Go ahead.
It saves man hours building tags in 8 different systems.
Correct. And the reason it saves man hours is because it makes sense to every single person in the organization. I don't have to teach people where data is. I have to teach them how it's organized. And it's organized like the business. That's it. It's that simple. You want to know where all your problems are? There are a lot of, if you're an end user, raise your hand. There's a lot of them in here. I think there's a lot of end users. Half the people in here are end users. Do you want to know how you identify all the problems in your business? If you wanted to know what all your problems were, where do you go? What thing do you look at? Where's that data? Spreadsheets. Spreadsheets. If you took an inventory of every spreadsheet built in your business, you would know every single problem you are trying to solve. Not 99% of the problems, every problem. If you collected every single spreadsheet, that would be every business problem. How many spreadsheets do you have in your business? Don't try to tell me you actually know the number. Okay? The answer is, I don't know. So how many problems do you have in your business? I don't know. Okay? ProveIt was about, let's whittle the problems down to what the vendors know are most common. When we ask a vendor, hey, take a look at this virtual factory and tell me what you would do for this customer. I don't tell the vendors what to build. We give them rules. I'm going to show you what the rules are. We give them access to the virtual factory, which you can navigate yourself. I'm going to show you the architecture here in a minute. We give them rules, and then we say, what would you do for this customer? Why did we do ProveIt? Well, honestly, the reason we did ProveIt was because we've built this huge community. You know, we have 400,000 followers globally. That's enormous. Our industry is only 1 million people. I don't know if you guys know that. There's only 1 million people in our industry, on the whole planet. And 400,000 of them watch our content. So that means that we could leverage that to get the vendors to go to a show, because most vendors are not going to sign up to compete. So do you know how we got the vendors? Do you know how we got Google to come? Do you know how we got Siemens to come? Do you know why we got Aviva to come? Because all of you told them they had to be there if you were going to buy their product. You have to go compete. That is the truth. That way, and by the way, that was never our plan. But the community started telling the vendors, are you going to be at ProveIt? Sales guy would call, and the first thing they would go is, are you going to be at ProveIt? Because I'm going. And then Colby called us a week after the show, maybe 2 weeks after ProveIt, and it was a resounding success, overwhelming success. And he said, I want you guys to come here and do it here. Except I want you to ask the vendors to do the exact same thing, but require them to use Ignition too. Use their own product and then use Ignition. And I said, you know, that's brilliant. Why is that brilliant? Do you use just one product in digital transformation? Has anybody here used only a single product as part of their digital initiative? No. How many products do you have? What's the average number of digital products that an enterprise organization has? I actually know the number. Does anybody know? If you take inventory of all the software that you have that falls under digital, yell out a number if you think you know. How many? 7. So I wish it was 7. 7 is kind of what you get down to. Who said it? 36. So it's very close. It's 33. 7 is what you try to get down to. The average organization is using more than 30 different pieces of software to achieve their digital goals. So if I'm using 30 different pieces of software to achieve my digital goals, and each of those pieces of software generates data and information, what naturally follows from that if I want to create a common digital infrastructure? All 33 of those pieces of software have to interoperate with one another. How easy is it to make software interoperate with each other? For you end users out there, how easy is it? In general, how easy is it? It isn't. It isn't. And for some vendors, it's by design. It's by design. ProveIt was about compelling vendors to interoperate through a common infrastructure. And it was about teaching end users, and it is about teaching end users the art of the possible across platforms. Okay? All right, so with that, look at that, I did that in 11 minutes. I'm proud of myself. Thank you. Thank you. And the team is proud of me because I am known for going over. All right, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play this video. And this is a kind of an introduction to what ProveIt is. It's about 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna go through my presentation here. You wanna go ahead and put my screen up there? All right.
What brought you here this morning? And I'd like you to just take a deep breath in through your nose and then exhale through your mouth, like a sigh. And then ask yourself an answer, not from your intellect, but from your heart. Why are you here this morning?
Really, the reason I came here is to see it approved, honestly. I mean, the name of the conference really is why we came, but to be able to see things in action and understand what components of the very confusing stack of technologies that we have to choose from in action was probably the biggest thing that I gained from this.
If you're coming from industry, if you're coming from background where you see a lot of presentations, it's really hard to smell the difference between good and bad. It's really easy to see it here.
The feedback that we are getting is that Pulse is one of the biggest, most successful product launches, or the ProveIt session that we had, where the Pulse launch was one of the biggest success. So it's been really fantastic, so much so that next year we'll come back with a big bang, even bigger than what Art presents this year, because this is the event that we want to be in.
The conversations have been extremely technical, down to the PLC level, how data is being captured, what tags are, and how tags are being used, what data is being transformed. So I think the level of expertise at the conference is extremely high. So it's not just top level decision makers, but actual end users.
Shout out.
I hope it's the future of where this type of event goes in the future. I hope that this gets adopted on a broader scale. But ProveIt has definitely innovated here and kind of been the trendsetter.
I can't think of another conference I've been to with technology that was geared towards teaching you how to use the different components that are out there that we have to choose from.
So what's going to happen over the next couple of days is we're going to do ProveIt at a stripped down level. So it's the same virtual factory that we used in February, identical. In fact, all of the vendors from February are still connected to it. You will notice if you go and you look out there, there are vendors who are publishing in and out of the namespace. So if you want to know what the vendor did, you can just navigate to the namespaces that have the vendor's name. Where they can publish is to their username. So Atanta Analytics, for example, they publish all of their data to the Atanta namespace. So it could be enterprise/Atanta, and then it's their data that they've generated. It could be enterprise/Dallas/Atanta, and they could publish that data there, and they can do that same thing down in the area level. So when you see Skellig, or you see Aviva, or you see CirrusLink, so you see IACL, that's Inductive Automation CirrusLink. Okay, you can see the data that they generated in the virtual factory out there, out at our booth. You can navigate it. There's a little Mac Mini out there, and you can go through it. It is the live virtual factory that you see right now. I'm going to go through how it's built in a couple of minutes so that you guys have the full context. I'm going to talk about who the manufacturer is, what do we actually manufacture, and then I'm going to give you the rules that we gave the vendors, and then I'm just going to tell you what they're going to be doing. Okay? The idea here is for you to learn the art of the possible with Ignition and other products. So we have 15 vendors that are presenting. 15? Yeah. We have 15 vendors over the next 2.5 days. What's different about ProveIt this year, the ProveIt ICC versus our conference, is that the only people presenting are the people on stage. There's only one presentation going on at any time. Everyone's seeing the same presentation. Next year, that's not the case. You'll have next year, in February, you will have the title sponsors and all the gold sponsors. They're going to present to 1,500 people. And then all the silver sponsors are going to present to, there's going to be 2 silvers presenting at the same time. There will be a partition up. And you'll choose which one to watch. and then you can watch the recording of the other one if you want to. Okay, here, there are 4 presentations going on at any given time. So in some presentations, we might have 50 people in here, and in some presentations, we might have 500. I'm gonna go through the schedule. You decide, hey, these are the ones I absolutely wanna see. There are a couple of presentations that are must see. I can tell you that. There are some presentations here that are wow, okay? There are some that are duds. That means we did our job. If every vendor looks good when they come up on stage here, we did not do our job. We did not do our job. Okay? Last year in February, we had, how many presented? 20 something on stage? And we had how many vendors total? 36, 37? So we had 36, 37 total. You have bronze sponsors also who do their ProveIt sessions only at their booth. Okay? We had 36 present. We had 20 something on stage. There were 5 absolutely mind-blowing presentations. Half the presentations were great. There were 4, and there was one that was an absolute dumpster fire, okay? And if you haven't seen that presentation, I want to encourage you to go look for it. Everybody was talking about it afterwards. Amy Williams from Skellig was the MC during that presentation. The MC's job is to make sure that the vendor answers all the questions. I am the MC for every presentation at ICC ProveIt. I will be the one asking the questions. I will be here on stage with the presenters. Amy Williams did not let that company off the hook. She did her job for you. Okay? That is the idea of ProveIt. All right? I want to first start off by saying this. If a vendor is on stage doing a presentation here, you should thank them. There are some vendors who are terrified to come do this. Believe me. Okay? One of the things I've always loved about Ignition, people ask me all the time, Walker, why do you still think Inductive Automation makes the best IIoT platform in the world? Well, the answer is because they do. I can measure that. It's not my opinion. Because digital transformation is connect, collect, store, analyze, visualize, find patterns, report, and solve. You do that over and over and over again. You build a digital infrastructure, a digital brain, and then you connect that into a digital supply chain. Okay? Ignition is the greatest platform in the world to get started. You can do connect, collect, store, analyze, visualize, find patterns, report, and solve. And you can plug into a digital supply chain. In fact, we have 3 clients. One is a chemical manufacturer who makes ink. We have this client, the Virtual Factory, which is a flexible packager that makes flexible packaging in food and beverage. And then we have their customer, a sugar water manufacturer who buys their flexible packaging. All 3 of them are our customers. All 3 of them use Ignition. All 3 of them have unified namespace, and all 3 of them are connected together. The chemical manufacturer monitors the ambient temperature, the web tension, and the tunnel temperatures on the printing presses where their ink is being used to print the flexible packaging. The manufacturer in the middle, the one that is doing our virtual factory, sees supply chain insights from their chemical manufacturer who makes the ink, and the order requests from the sugar water manufacturer who uses their packaging. And the sugar water manufacturer, I assure you, the red and black one that everyone here knows, okay, it's Georgia, not North Carolina, all right? That sugar water manufacturer monitors the status of their order so that they don't have to put the packaging in the warehouse. They go directly from delivery right to the production line. They take that step out. They plan their production based on the status of the film that's being shipped to them right now with their packaging. Okay? That's why Ignition is the #1 IIoT platform in the world. I used to say this. You have to ask this question. Why is it no one copies Inductive Automation's model? What is their model, first off? What is Inductive Automation's model? Yeah, unlimited licensing, land and expand, cross-platform, get in as many hands as humanly possible, without training, offer the training for free. Why does Inductive Automation do that? Somebody knows the answer. Why does Inductive Automation do that and no one else does that, or very, very few people, and no one who builds an IIoT platform does that? What's that? Ask, amen, right there. Their product can stand alone. If I built Ignition, I'd want to get it in as many fucking hands as I could possibly get into without ever talking to them. You integrators out here who work with Ignition, how many times do you go see a new client, a new end user who's been using Ignition, and they've built something in Ignition it never occurred to you to ever build? All the fucking time. That's why Ignition is still the gold standard in IIoT platforms globally. That's why. And you want to know who was one of the first vendors to say, we want to come prove it? Inductive Automation. So you end users out there, you should be very skeptical of OEMs who don't want to prove it. Okay? Here's another thing you should always be skeptical of. We're going to ask, the fourth question we're going to ask, what problem did you solve? How did you solve it? How many man hours did it take? How much does it cost? If a vendor up here doesn't give you the answer, how much it costs, run. 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 Okay, so if they don't give you the answer on cost, tell them to leave. If you are an end user, I'm telling you right now, if every one of you, if every end user said to a vendor, if you can't tell me how much this costs, leave, everyone would tell you how much it costs. Because their answer is, you want to know what their answer is if they don't give you the number? It's not, I don't know. It's however much I can get you to pay. And is that good for anybody? Is that good for the middle class? Is that good for manufacturing in the United States or all over the world? No, that's a terrible business model. Character is who you are when no one is watching. ProveIt is all about forcing them to answer the questions sometimes they don't want to answer. But the people who jump up here, the vendors who raise their hand right away and say, I want to be there, like Opto22 and Benson, they are the vendors you can trust. They are the vendors you want to look at. So every single vendor who is here presenting, you should take the time to go talk to them. Because they are signaling to you, we have the values that resonate with you. Okay? All right, with that, let's go over, share my screen real quick. All right, so who's going to be presenting? HiveMQ, HiByte, Atanta Analytics, who I've mentioned a couple of times, Kanoa. I'm just going to point this out. You know, I don't want to show favorites and stuff, but hey, everybody knows me. I'm going to say what I'm thinking. You definitely want to see the Kanoa presentation. That's Jason Koop. Everybody will ask me, hey, Walker, I'm getting ready to build an MES system. Who should I call if I'm not going to call you? Jason Koop. It's always Jason Koop. It's always Jason Koop. Okay? Jason Koop is, I've learned 90% of what I know about manufacturing execution systems from Jason Koop. And I've built some of the biggest MES systems in the world. And Kanoa is Jason Koop. All right? You definitely want to see that presentation. You're going to want to see Sepasoft's presentation. Okay? For sure, you're going to want to see those too. There are many great presentations in here. There is a reason that we're asking Opto22 to go first again. They went first at our show, and we asked them to go to first here. You want to know why? Because we know they're going to hit a home run. We know Benson's going to come up here and slay it. Okay? And set the tone. Thread from New Zealand, that's pretty interesting. You might want to see that module. You want to see all of these. Okay? You want to see all of these. MaintainX, I think you're going to want to see that. And SiteSync is the module. SiteSync is the one where I was talking to the data scientist yesterday. Yes. And you're going to want to see what she's got up there too. You're going to want to see all of these so that you can, so make sure if you can't get here live, watch the videos. Okay? Here's our virtual factory. It's essentially 4 processes. So these are the flexible packager who brings in, the raw material that they bring in is film on rolls. And then they have printing presses that have Siemens motion control, DH445 motion controllers. Okay? We go from printing, go ahead and put my screen up there. We go from printing to slitting, or to lamination to slitting, and then we either send the rolls off to the customer, or we go and make the bags for the customer. What do they make? If you buy potato chips, you know what they make. If I buy a bag of pretzels, The bag that the pretzels are in, this is what they make. The raw material coming in is film, and what goes out is the bag or the roll you make the bag from. This is a very, very difficult process. Okay, and one of the use cases I talk about is when we used Ignition to digitally transform this organization over a 18-month window. They spent about $500,000. Their primary problem was printing was the problem. Printing was the bottleneck. Those presses cost $25 million. It is very, very difficult to print correctly and get it on register and on color and lined up perfectly, okay? And without a lot of waste, and then get the changeover to happen in a acceptable amount of time, all right? They were generating $25 million of revenue the year we started, just through digital transformation, just through what you see out in that virtual factory. Enterprise, Dallas, press, lam, slit, bag, and then all those endpoints, those functional endpoints, they went to $50 million with no capital investment other than spending $500,000 on digital transformation over 18 months. That's the power of digital. This is a real world. If a vendor can't come here and turn this virtual factory, provide additional value for this vendor, they're going to struggle providing additional value for anyone. Okay? So the architecture that you're going to see, we have an infrastructure in the cloud. Ignition is a core to our infrastructure. We have an infrastructure in the cloud. We have 2 HiveMQ MQTT brokers sitting behind a load balancer. They are synced together. So if the vendor goes to balancer.virtualfactory.online and they connect, they're hitting the load balancer and they're talking to either of those brokers based on where the load balancer sends them. We are processing a massive amount of data, massive number of messages. Not only do we have the 36 vendors from February using this infrastructure, we have the 15 vendors from ICC ProveIt using the exact same infrastructure. Okay, I'm going to show you the HiveMQ front end. I got 1 minute. I'm going to go over by probably 3 minutes, okay? A huge shout out to HiveMQ, Inductive Automation, MySQL, Portainer, and Python, because that is what our infrastructure is built on, okay? And if you guys want to see these slides later, I'm happy to show you. Vendors can connect via OPC or MQTT, flat MQTT or SparkPlug-B, or OPC. The namespaces are identical. Okay, so if I'm consuming over OPC, I am consuming the unified namespace. If I'm consuming over MQTT SparkPlug-B, I'm consuming the unified namespace. If I consume over flat MQTT, I'm consuming the unified namespace. I get this question all the time, how do namespaces live together? We're demonstrating that with our virtual factory here. There are 3 endpoints, all the data is unified. Here's our schedule for today. We're going to go Opto 22, then SiteSync, then Flow, HiveMQ, Kanoa. You will want to see Kanoa's presentation. Okay, I don't want to show favoritism, but I would be remiss if I didn't tell you not to come in here and watch Jason's presentation. Okay, especially if you're going to be doing any type of MES stuff, L3 conversion. Okay, he's going to be doing L3. Atanta Analytics closes out the day. If you want to see a very inexpensive analytics platform with short time to value, and the cheapest license is $750, come watch Atanta's presentation, okay? It's going to be hard for you to find analytics for $750, okay? Tomorrow, MaintainX is going to kick it off. You definitely want to see MaintainX. They're the only CMMS platform here. Why? Because they're the only CMMS platform that met the minimum technical requirements to be here. So for those of you using Infor, hello. If you're using Infor EAM, they don't meet the minimum technical requirements. HiByte goes next. You're going to want to see Aaron Semley's agentic AI presentation. Okay. Sepasoft, Thread. Thread is really interesting. If you want to see knowledge graphs, they're going to be presenting their knowledge graph. They have an Ignition module that plugs into Ignition tags, and then they can build knowledge graphs through data operations. It's very interesting to see. Axelon and then Snowflake. And is Remus doing the Snowflake, or is somebody else doing that? Is Remus Pop? Okay. If Remus is the one doing that presentation, I would say you should see Snowflake's presentation. But if it's Remus, you definitely want to see it. Acronis is going to start Thursday morning, and they're going to go over disaster recovery, how they would do disaster recovery for this virtual factory. Okay? They're the only DR vendor. Safety Chain and then Sorba.ai. If you don't know Sorba, they're kind of a leader in AI in industry. Their platform has been around for years, and they started in trains, in commuter rail. All right, and I just want to go over one other thing. So you guys can go out and look at the unified namespace, but the plant itself is Enterprise, Dallas, Press, Slit, Bag, and Lamb. And I'm just going to go over the namespace generically, but essentially here are all the functional namespaces. The ingress from the edge device, so from the DH445 motion controllers, comes in through the MQTT namespace. All the tags inside of there are literally coming from the PLC. They get mapped into the production line namespace, and that's where OEE is generated. So that is where all the L3 stuff happens in the line namespace. Dashboard is an informative namespace that is visualized to the operator and to the supervisor. Role consumption, role info, role production, running role, shift change, and UI, they are all functional namespaces that are specific to printing, okay? All of the vendors had access to 4 months of data in a database, and then 2 hours of data running in the unified namespace. And every solution that they built has been plugged in. They compare current state with the last 4 months, and they do something with it, all right? We're gonna ask them 4 questions. What problem did you solve? How did you solve it? How many man hours did it take? And how much would this cost? There are 2 additional questions I'm going to ask that you guys will find out when Opto 22 gets done presenting right now, I think, right? All right, thank you, everybody.